Yeah, so as you were gone, I went down there with some friends and of Christina's, and mostly coworkers, and the margaritas go down easily there.
You were sending me some text messages, some interesting text messages that night over there.
Well, I think I sent you one, and I figured
I got the hint.
I forgot how to use my phone at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, we did that ourselves one time when we were down there. It's been a few years now. We went down there and for a little happy hour, and if I remember correctly, it resulted in your now wife having to come down and pick you up. Well, she joined us first. I mean, you have to come in and have a couple.
Well, I mean, I think the story was that a couple hours in, I called her, and I think I had ridden my bike from my previous job down there, and wasn't feeling the ability to ride the bike home. so I uh, so I called her to join us, and she was like, "Why the fuck are you calling me at 2 hours after you've been there?" She's like, "You've already eaten. You probably are ready to go. Why would I come join you?"
It was a nice gesture. The real ask was like, I need a ride home, but I can't just ask for that. So you should join
Yeah,
us.
exactly right. And apparently, she picked up on a little speech slurring that was going on, and so she's like, "Oh,
I,
now I understand the real reason."
I thought we were doing great. Coffee Codecast episode 4, buddy. Let's kick it off.
Hey, we made it
Holy
4 episodes.
smokes.
How about that?
Our growing fan base.
Yeah, we're picking up users right and left, man.
It's good to be back. It's been a little while. It's been, a couple weeks probably since we did this last time.
Yeah, I think the last episode we published was on the 31st, so it's been a while. So welcome back.
Good to be here.
I was going to ask you this when you were in the office. Who watched your dogs while you were gone? Because you were gone for a while anyway, and then you kind of had some unexpected additional time. So did you have them kenneled, or what happened there?
No, they stay at the house. They stay at the apartment. I have been in San Francisco for about 50 days now, probably. And my dogs have been there more than I have. I've only been there for probably 20-ish. And so my dogs have a very nice apartment in Mission Bay.
Nice.
That I get to stay and visit. I get to come and visit whenever I want. It's a pretty sweet deal, man. They let me in.
I mean, that's pretty nice of you to give them a San Francisco pad.
Well, they're good dogs, usually. One of them is. The other one's a little fucker, but still love him too. We did have some people. Lauren, being the networker she is, found a couple in the apartment that could come in and take care of him while we were gone. So that was very nice.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Is this? Are we in the airing of grievances section yet?
What does that mean? I didn't even know this was a section.
I don't know if it is either, but maybe it needs to happen right now.
All right. Well, I mean, let her loose if you got it. That'll be a good thing to bring people in. Now that I posted it on Facebook and it's on Twitter and people are just joining the rant, we need to hear a rant. So yeah, let her rip, man.
Yeah, we're getting into holiday season anyway, and I think Festivus is coming up soon here. I don't remember exactly the time frame, but they have the airing of grievances for all my Seinfeld people out there.
See,
yeah.
I'm not a Seinfeld guy. I wasn't aware of that.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah. It's a real thing. If it's from Seinfeld. Here's the deal, man. Here's the deal. So I have the Pixel 2. We talked about that before. I love the phone. I actually talked to somebody that has the 2XL, and he hasn't had any of the problems that have been purported with this thing. He showed it to me. It looks really, really cool. Very good. Very nice. No, the whole grievance is that Google said that they announced when the phone came out that they would buy back other phones, right? Like you'd get $150 back for, I don't know. You could get a few $100 back if you had the 6X or 6P. Yeah, the 6P. Get some money for the 5X. So they had a
Sure, it's
trade-in
some kind of
program.
upgrade program. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a trade-in program, and so I'm waiting for my kit to arrive, and I don't see my kit. They're supposed to send me a return box for this thing. I had the phones wiped and ready to go and put back in the original box. No kit, and it's getting close to it. It's been a month probably, almost. And there's a 30-day cap on that. So I went out to Google Tech Support, which is just a thrill. If you haven't done that before, I'd recommend don't check it out. Uh, and yeah, as it turns out, I filled out a form for a trade-in, but somehow it wasn't tied to my order, and so they won't honor the trade-in because it has to be tied to the order. You can't. Uh, you not only does it have to be tied to the order, you have to specify during checkout that you know, I'm checking out a kit and a new phone. So I don't know what form I found. I think I just found a separate form. And when I was on Project Fi, it gave me a link to say, "Hey, trade in your phone," and I did that, but it didn't have anything to do with ordering. So I thought, I'll just order the phone, and naturally, because I have two of these 5Xs in my account currently, they're going to be deactivated. Then those will be eligible for trade in. But no, because I didn't do it at the same time of purchase, there is no kit coming, and there will be no trade ins happening either. So I was very upset.
That's pretty interesting considering the last episode you were talking about how their support is very helpful and useful and forgiving, whereas it sounds like maybe their sales department is not.
Maybe I was still drunk on that episode, or I could have been mistaken for Amazon, because Amazon has great support.
Maybe, yeah. Well, you can't get you can't get an Amazon phone anymore.
Yeah, well, that's too bad.
Is it though? I don't know.
Oh, here's the thing: they've been very proactive. The Project Fi team has, at least. So there was anytime there was an outage, there were some things they miscalculated my data usage. They'll give out little refunds and do things like that, which is very nice. But so like the automated stuff is fine, but then you've got this. This is a big deal, and the guy even told me he was escalating the requests, and he said this is a very common problem. This isn't just a small segment of the Nexus folks this is happening to. There's a lot of people out there that are having this issue as well. It's very confusing how the trade-in was supposed to work.
Huh. Well, I've been debating a little bit with myself here off and on about upgrading, whether I want to upgrade to either, excuse me, the iPhone. What the hell do we have? 8 or 10?
10, yeah.
uh, well, there's another one too, right? There's the 8, I think, as well.
8 plus 10. I don't. What are they all?
Something like that. I did get to see in the office. We have some people that have the iPhone 10, so I was able to get my hands on that, and it is pretty slick. I got to admit, it's really tall, almost uncomfortably tall. It's the same kind of width as the iPhone 7, but they've added a ton of height because they've gotten rid of the top and bottom bezels. So, but it feels a little bit strange. It's a slightly heavier feeling because it's glass. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to see it. Pretty cool to try it. It's a little bit of a learning curve just because they've removed some of the gestures as they've gotten rid of the home button. But overall, it seems pretty slick.
I had a chance to check it out in AT&T store last week, and it's nice. The 8 plus is massive. I had a hard time with the 8 plus. The ten was great.
I actually was listening to another show. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and they kind of made a good point that the 10 and I think the 8 has wireless charging as well, but this generation of phones feels like the more logical kickoff point that they should have removed the headphone jack. And the reasoning for that is because now you can, in addition to being wirelessly charging, you can also plug in the dongle to plug in your headphones. So you couldn't do that before without an additional
That's
dongle.
right.
You would have to have a dongle that would do power and your headphone jack. So they were like, this makes sense now. This is a logical step at this point to have removed that port. And in the history of Apple, they've been very, very good at that. They removed the ports kind of at a very logical time in the evolution of the
Yes.
hardware. And he was like, this feels like the logical time they should have done that, not the previous generation. Which I thought that was an interesting point, and I totally agree.
It's a good point. I agree also. I don't have a headphone jack on the Pixel 2. They removed those, and I don't usually charge my phone. I don't have that problem yet. The battery life's been very good. I charge it in the overnight, and then it's good all day. But I could see how that'd be a problem, and it would be very nice if they just introduced the wireless charging with it. That'd be cool.
The Pixel 2 doesn't have wireless charging. I thought it did for some reason.
Oh, does it? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out on the wrong thing.
I have no idea. It's not my that's not my space.
No, it does not. It does not. They're pulling the same thing with Apple. It's going to be another release. I get to buy the Pixel 3 for $900 and get wireless charging maybe next time.
All right, well, let's get into some follow-up, should we?
Follow up.
Well, you got the remarkable tablet in your hand. You've used it now for about a week, a little short of a week.
Yes.
So tell me about it. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
This is a fun digital tablet. I'm having a lot of fun with the Remarkable so far. It gets a good review from me. Looks like it uses the e-ink technology, so it kind of looks like like an oversized Kindle. It's probably the best way to describe it. It's an oversized Kindle. It kind of resembles a pad of paper. Let me take a look I have a pad of paper right here in terms of the dimensions. Yeah, a little smaller than a normal pad of paper, but pretty darn close.
I would say they're very similar in size, just using it, the brief time I did in the office there.
It's very nice. It has 3 buttons on the front, a power button on the top, kind of a power sleep button, so you can actually just snooze it if you want to save battery and you're not taking notes right now. Yeah, there's the main screen. When you get into the main screen, it has a few different organization categories. It'll break it down into notebooks, documents, and ebooks. And so it supports PDF and EPUB files at this point. More to come later, but that's the initial release. It has supports for those 2 files. And so if you have EPUBs that are not digital rights managed, like Amazon ebooks, or if you find tutorials that might or may not exist online on how to convert those ebooks, you can do that and put those on your Remarkable tablet. And I have some digital subscriptions to some magazines, so I threw some of those on there. I could download those, put them on, and I'm very impressed. I've been taking notes on it all week. I've been taking better notes. I'm a better note taker now than I was before, because what happened is that like the moleskin example, when I have my single moleskin, I'm taking all kinds of different notes, and I don't have a really good organization system for it. So maybe, for example, my team stand up every day. That might happen in the morning every morning, but then I'm taking notes for other meetings and taking personal notes or whatever, to-do lists. And so my previous day's notes might be a page or 2 or 3 back, and I'm not exactly sure where it is, and it's kind of hard to keep it together. Well, with this, I just have a stand-up notebook, and I have a few pages in there, and I'm able to, I put today's date right where I left off, so I'm able to go back at a glance and see what happened yesterday. What did we talk about yesterday? And I can go back a screen and see what happened last week. It's very nice for continuity, so I'm able to keep everything relevant in one space and create as many notebooks as I want.
So given your stand-ups, I would imagine your stand-up notebook is about full by now, right?
It's getting full. We have a new thing in Agile. I don't know, for you techies, I would like to hear how your companies handle this, but we have a very new state-of-the-art Agile methodology called the sit-down stand-up. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes every day, and it's very slow. It's kind of like passing the yarn at Thanksgiving or something like that. Everybody gets to share until they're done, and we get to come back to people. And
yeah, you should implement some kind of game that you guys can play while you're sitting around the couches there, just to keep everybody interested.
Yeah, that's the first problem. It's at our very plush lounge couches that we have in the area. That doesn't get people motivated to get the hell out of there. It's it's a little different. Maybe I just need to get we need to get some boards with some nails and make people stand on them barefoot or something. That'll get us out of there in about 5 minutes.
So as far as the Remarkable, the writing experience, I felt was really, really good. There was just a touch of delay, which I think you're going to have with any kind of writing surface like that. As far as the accuracy and the precision that the pen for that thing has, it was pretty solid. I felt even on a pretty narrow lined rule of paper that it presents on the screen, you were able to write in those lines pretty easily without any kind of weirdness occurring. The question that I was kind of wondering as you filled out the page, eh, the device itself has a little bit of thickness to it. I don't know, maybe half an inch thick or something like that.
If not even that,
Maybe
it's probably closer to a little between a quarter and a half,
okay.
3/8. I don't know.
So as your hand kind of bleeds off to the edge of the screen or the bottom of the screen, does that feel a little bit strange? Because the idea of this product was to kind of be as close to paper as possible, and of course, paper is pretty much completely flat on the surface, whereas obviously this cannot emulate that. So I was curious as to how once you get to the right side of the page or the bottom of the page, how that feels or works.
Yep. I tried that and it's very good. It goes right to the edge. It doesn't do any funky screen rendering, compression, weird stuff where it's, it goes to the edge. It's a hot edge. I don't know what the term is, but it's great.
But in terms of feel, like your hand hanging off kind of a quarter-inch cliff, does that feel a little bit strange or
No, no, not really. I think of it just like a regular notepad. If it's a brand new notepad, you're going to have some thickness, maybe not as much as the Remarkable does, but certainly some thickness, and it doesn't feel any different than using a pad of
that's
paper
fair, I guess. Yeah. If you're
in
using
my
your
view.
moleskin, then yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of a drop off there as well as you get to the edge.
Yeah. Yeah, so this device, we covered it before, but it's a very robust and primitive, I would say, device. It isn't an all-in-one. It isn't an iPad with apps that you download, at least not yet. It's a digital notepad that takes notes and a reader so you can read those notes and read your documents that you have in those formats I mentioned. And that's it. It doesn't really do a whole lot else. It has a very nice palette of pen and pencil and highlighters and different thicknesses and tips so you can customize that however you want. You can one thing I would love is that when I'm reading some of my magazines, I can take notes on the magazine. So I can underline, I can circle things, I can highlight, which is really interactive. That experience to me is what makes it so special because before I wanted the physical copy to write notes. It's just how I capture things. Is even just reading the news, I want to be able to scribble on something, and now I can do that.
That's pretty cool. And you were mentioning too, you can change kind of what kind of paper you're using, right? So you could switch to graph paper or lined paper or probably no
Yes, they have
paper, I'm
different
sure.
many templates. You can go blank or line, college rule, Cornell note style. Yes, they have many templates. They were even exploring ways to do your own custom templates. So if you have a certain format you like, you can do
That
that.
would be cool. I kind of
So
think to myself, I have a moleskin I don't really use anymore because I use software to do this now, but I had a moleskin that would do recipes. So it has kind of a recipe template built into it. So, stuff like that they could kind of cater to, particular formats like that would be pretty cool.
yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's fun. The battery life could be improved, and I've seen some updates already that it's going to be a software thing they push that can improve the update, the battery life. I got through a day with it pretty easily, but I had it yesterday at the coffee shop, so I had charged it the day before, used it some that evening or whatever, and took it to the coffee shop, and I think by the end of the afternoon there, I was down to 20% or something. So,
Wow. You would think being
you know,
e-ink, it shouldn't be that battery heavy, but
I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe they probably have a beefier processor in there than your Kindle or something, I'm sure. And but I don't think it was hurried. I think that it's a good V1. It's a good first product. I do see though holes there and areas for improvement, and I imagine that they probably had to sacrifice some features just to get the thing out without much more delay. But it wasn't a half-ass product either. I think it was ready for the mainstream. Definitely looking forward though to some improvements. One thing that because it is a very natural experience, one thing that I found myself wanting to do, I had a pencil. I was using a pencil on there, which is a cool effect as well because it looks like a pencil. But anyway, I wanted to erase it, and so I flipped the pen over, the stylus over, and tried to erase, and no dice. It doesn't work, and so you have to go into the navigation and select the eraser, and then erase the thing.
yep, I had thought that actually when I was looking at it, I was thinking that was a pretty big missed opportunity.
It is. It's something that's very natural. I think a lot of people that would want to try to do that and then be, you know, It's just a little more work. There's multiple steps now to erase,
Yep.
so that could be improved. There's some other things that could be improved too. The buttons, the left right buttons are they are elevated somewhat off the notepad on the front.
These are the ones that are at the bottom.
Yeah, and they're meant for navigation. The middle one goes as a home button, like the iPhone home. You got your left and right for previous and next in the notebook.
You
And
know,
what happens?
the more I think about that, those buttons being at the bottom, that's kind of a poor design decision.
It's been there's been some interference. I've not a lot, but a couple times I've been writing something at the bottom of the page and bump it, and then it switches the page.
Yep.
Also, in sleep mode, when you tap the power button to put it into sleep, when I push that into I got the little felt or the wool sleeve for the thing, which is a very nice sleeve, actually. I really like it. It's a little gray wool sleeve with a liner. But I had some other documents in there because that's what I was carrying around the other day to the coffee shop. I had some real paper in there, and it was a little squeezed for space. And when I was trying to put the notepad in there, it bumped the button and it took it out of sleep. So that could be another reason why the battery life is diminished, is that I could have had it in there awake the whole time and not known for a couple hours or something.
Sure.
Maybe it goes to sleep after 15 minutes. I don't really know. The other little gotcha there too is there is no brightness setting that I could find on the device anywhere. So what you see is what you get. There is no adjustment. Which like I was on the airplane taking notes and reading some stuff, and there is no backlight. So that could be a future enhancement. A backlight would be very nice.
Yep. Is there any kind of such thing as brightness, on an e-ink display? I don't think there is such a thing. I mean, you could definitely backlight it,
Yeah.
but I don't think there is such a thing as brightness.
No, that's just it. That's what I'm saying. Is I think I would have liked to have a backlight or something, because it's just it, it's it's difficult. Yeah, I had the light on in the plane. It was dim. It was a night flight, so the lights were off. I had my light on. It was fine, but then the lady next to me kept moving her head and blocking my damn view. Get out the way. I'll leave it at that. It's a great product right now. I'm very happy, very pleased. It was worth the wait. The good folks at Remarkable did a very nice job with this one, and I can't wait to see what comes out in future releases. I have no doubt it's going to be a radically different and enhanced product in another few months, in a year even, as they keep building it out.
Well, let's move on to another piece of follow-up that I think this was from episode number 1, if I'm not mistaken. But
Oh,
what happened to Windows 9? This was something that you kind of brought up on an aside. I think we were talking about the iPhone 10 at the time, and you kind of had inquired about why do people skip 9 in general, and then we kind of went on a tangent about was there a Windows 9? Well,
no.
there was not. That's right. And yeah, it was exactly as we explained. It was they wanted, coming off Windows 8, which wasn't the most popular change in the world. They wanted to make it appear that it's a major update. So they just went ahead and skipped over 9 and went directly to 10 and made it appear that it's, a larger update than maybe it really was.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think the other thing that was the major difference too, that they wanted to signify such a major rapid change, is that Windows 10 was the first one that was the UI basically flowed across to all devices. I think that was the other major change that they wanted to kind of really differentiate 10 from 8 in that way. So
The
that was
phone,
just,
the tablet.
yep, yep, exactly. Bringing the, what do they call that? Metro design, I think they call it, to all the devices
Yes.
and all
Continuity.
their applications. They kind of had everything doing the same type of thing, which was good, I think.
Yeah. We'll have to go we'll skip our 9th episode and we'll go right to 10. It'll be a big one.
We should do that just as a as a gag.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's done.
It's a major upgrade from 9 to 10 of the Coffee Code Cast.
Yeah, and on that note, I didn't really say anything at the show opening, but just want to let anybody out there that listens to know that we will be back in more of a routine fashion here with the publishing. I had some personal events going on at home, and I had to take care of, unfortunately, a death in the family and that sort of thing, and so I was gone for a chunk of time there for a week and a half. But the plan is to still be publishing content, pushing shows twice a week, and we're going to get back on the saddle here with this one, and and get it going again. And I think we even had some ideas of how we could maybe have a little backup just in case something like that happens again. One of us can't be around, then we'll have a little bit of filler that we can pop in there to keep people's interest peaked.
You talking about a best of show?
Oh, I think we need a couple more for that to happen. At least one or two for the highlight reel to come
There you
out.
go.
I want to give Simon something good to listen to. He's a
Hey,
listener. He was a
he's a
listener for the
loyal
first
fan.
few anyway. Loyal fan. If we had shirts to give away, he'd be the first one to get a shirt. But we don't have any shirts, so
There you go.
maybe
Some
sometime.
swag.
Yeah, we don't have swag yet. We'll have to get some swag, and we can send it to our friend Simon down there, the old Starbucks. He's a Starbucks guy. We could work a trade with him. Maybe we could trade some swag for some coffee beans down there
Hey, there you
for our
go.
spin
It is
coffee
Coffee
maker.
Code Cast, as you've told before.
What else we got on going on here, man? We're about 30 minutes into this, right?
Well, we got Firefox Quantum was released
Woo!
a couple days ago.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, I was a Firefox user once upon a time before Chrome came out and kind of dominated the browser market. I was a huge Firefox guy. They were the first browser that really kind of adopted plugins and had a really good suite of debug tools.
They were the best at debugging before Chrome. That was the standard. You weren't doing that in IE, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, IE 8 or 7
Oh.
or whatever the hell, 6 maybe.
Oh, that's a dirty word. Don't talk about IE6 on the show. as a do the CSS and styling and the JavaScript nightmares that we had on IE6. Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this because this was actually maybe when you were out of the business for a while, but there was actually a time where businesses were implementing what they called an IE tax. Had you heard of this?
No. Go on.
So because of the time that you had to devote to coding specifically for IE 6 and 7 specifically, if you were using one of those browsers, because I think back in the day, even at the Nebraska Medical Center, we put a banner at the top that said, "Hey, you're using a dated browser. Update your shit."
We were less elegant about that.
Yeah, you remember doing that?
Yes.
So instead of that, what people started to do is in if you were an e-com, they would actually apply an additional tax to you. That was called the IE tax. So if they detected that you were using IE 6 or 7, you would get an additional tax at checkout to pay for the additional development time that was required to, which I thought was a pretty brilliant move. But we moved on from that. But it was an interesting move to recoup because at the time, people were spending 50% of their time developing specifically for those browsers because you had to put in tons of hacks and tons of specific styles for IE 6 and 7 because they didn't adhere to standard.
No.
So it was a valid reason to do it. It was just an interesting way to implement.
Well, it was a clever idea. I didn't know they were doing that, and sadly, they probably didn't even come close to recuperating their costs with that either, because that was such a pain.
So anyway, Firefox Quantum was released. Supposed to be a huge speed increase from Firefox and even Chrome, they claim. It's supposed to also be a battery life saver. It's supposed to be way better on battery life. It's supposed to be multi-threaded. It's supposed to have its own garbage cleanup, yada, 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 yada. So I went ahead and installed this. I gave it a run for a couple days on both my desktop and my mobile. So I tied both devices to it. And as far as the mobile goes, I was actually pretty impressed. The mobile experience was really, really good. I really enjoyed the read feature. So Safari, for those people that are on an iPhone, already have this. You can pull up any web page, click one button, and it reformats it to a reading function.
Mode.
So it's yeah, exactly. So it's a good font to read, good size. Removes all the distraction and that sort of thing. And I actually really enjoy that about the Firefox Quantum. However, on the desktop, it was a bit of a different experience. It does have the reading mode there, but what I was starting to see was incredible memory spikes on my machine. So I run a pretty beefy laptop for programming purposes, and there was a point running Firefox where it was consuming, gosh, I don't know, almost 40% of the memory in my machine that was available, and so I had to kill it. And I chalked that up to it maybe being just kind of a memory leak one time. restarted it up, ran some things for a while, maybe 30 minutes, and there again, it was back up to using 40%, 50% of my memory on my machine. So at that point, I was just kind of like, I can't let this continue. I can't let this run this way. It's my machine's just like on fire at this point. So I shut it down, and I haven't used it really since. I've used it on the mobile off and on, but not on the desktop. So
Well, I appreciate the tip on mobile. I'm going to try it out because I had a similar shitty experience on desktop. I downloaded it. I got really giddy thinking, ooh, I might go to Firefox Quantum now. And I just found the load time for me was slower. I don't know. I tried it a few different times. I don't think the load was anything impressive on the desktop for me. And yeah, I didn't check the memory, but my overall experience, I just wasn't pleased. I thought Chrome was still the better desktop browser in my limited,
yep.
unscientific experiment over there for a few days. So I
Yeah, I can't claim mine was totally scientific. However, I will say that I did measure the memory levels between Chrome and Firefox. And although Chrome is consuming a pretty substantial amount of memory, more in fact than I even realized, Firefox definitely is doing far more.
wow. Yeah, Chrome, if Chrome can take a lot of memory at each tab. You get a lot of tabs going, then you got the Hangouts thing at the bottom and all these other, pretty much you need to have 8 gigs of RAM just to run Chrome out. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I mean, just to give it a fair comparison right now, I mean, when I look at the Chrome task, it's maybe using, what do we got? Perhaps 1,000 megabytes. So I guess that'd be a gig. Yeah. So, and then I look at the screenshot that's at the bottom of our show notes of the one that I sent to you of when I was testing with Firefox, and that thing's using 2.5 gig, at least just for that one process, probably almost three when you count all of the different processes that it's running. So,
Damn.
yeah. So I was a little less than impressed with that. I'm hoping that maybe in some subsequent updates they'll fix a little bit of that a little more. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
Kyle, I'm running 21 threads processes, 21 Chrome items, units of work, 1.7 gigs, 1.8 gigs, almost 2 gigs of RAM. Got a lot going on in there. It's not too bad.
oh, one quick pause here. Somebody just rang my doorbell. Let's check my ring here and see who the hell it is.
Just use your
See if I
Amazon.
need to go
Do you have
answer.
your Amazon key? Mailman can come in.
It is a package and it is a delivery. So I do not have the key, and so I cannot let them in. But all right, good to know I don't have to run down my 4 flights of stairs and answer the door.
That's nice.
Yeah, so Firefox Quantum, I was very excited like you were. I was kind of giddy. I tried, I wanted to install it and I wanted to really, really like it because, like back in the day, kind of when we were working together, that was the browser of choice and that's what you used to do everything. And I was kind of hoping that they were back in the game and doing some cool shit. But unfortunately, it looks like it's not, at least for me, it's not ready for prime time.
Not yet. Well, I'm going to try it out on my mobile and see what happens.
Yeah, I enjoy the mobile. The mobile seems pretty snappy. I love the reading mode actually. It integrates natively with Pocket, which I use to kind of store read for later items. So that's pretty sweet. So yeah, I've been pretty happy and migrating everything from Chrome, or not migrating, copying everything from Chrome, including even some passwords and so forth. Was a breeze. That was no problem at all. So
Yeah, similarly, I had LastPass. I used that on Chrome, and I was able to get the plugin for Firefox and get that set up very quickly. So that was nice. That helped me get into some stuff. That was probably the more positive experience I had with it.
did you run through their desktop migration of your content from Chrome to Firefox? So all your bookmarks and that sort of thing?
No, I wasn't that confident in it yet. I didn't want to give it over.
Didn't want to give up your data?
I didn't want to turn it over to the Firefox, to the Moz. In our show notes and the links, I would recommend take a look at the Mozilla article that talks about Quantum and the underlying development that they did because I don't have a great experience on desktop right now, but what they did is really impressive in terms of how they are handling uh, parallelism and rendering in the browser. They've done some really cool things there to speed up the rendering engine, the DOM. Their Stylo is their CSS engine. I don't know. Can I just throw engine on the end of all this stuff?
Stylo.
Stylo, Quantum CSS, Quantum Renderer. It's a very great article. The greatest. Nah, sound like Trump over here. It's the greatest.
It's tremendous.
Biggest.
Next up, we got the Apple HomePod, which was
The
just.
hell is that?
What the hell is that? Apple makes HomePods? What the hell? HomePod. HomePod is Apple's response to the Google Home and the Amazon Alexa devices. So this would be working with Siri. So this is kind of Apple's foray into the smart assistant world, other than just on the phone. But also that if you have multiple of these devices, that they're aware of each other and they'll adjust the sound kind of to the space and to make a better sound environment between devices. So if they bounce certain sounds off of each other and they return in certain patterns, they'll kind of adjust the way that it sends the sound out to provide a really, really beautiful soundscape in the room. That's the claim anyway. So yeah, they announced these things I think it was at WWDC, and claimed that they would be available in December. And a recent report, many reports actually, and I believe it came directly from Apple, is that they're going to be delayed until early 2018, which to me isn't really surprising. You didn't really hear anything about these things other than at WDC, and what they did show there was really, really kind of vague. It was a lot of video material. It wasn't like they had one on the stage that they were interacting with heavily or something like that. So I think they have a lot to do with these devices. Not only that, but I think they're here again, like we talked about in the previous podcast, is they're incredibly behind. They're bringing something to the market that Amazon already dominates, and Google is playing in, and another player in the space is Sonos. I don't know what they're trying to prove with this. I mean, I know they're just trying to get something into the space and use their Siri platform, but it's too little, too late, I think.
We'll see. I haven't been following it, but who knows? Given some of my critiques of the other Apple stuff, I would like to see what happens here.
Yeah, I think if they can, I don't know. I just don't feel that, given the openness of Amazon and Google to bring other platforms onto their services, I don't know that I feel that this HomePod is going to be a great success. They're going to pimp their Apple Music. So for people that are in the the Apple ecosystem, this is probably going to be a pretty solid product for them. But anybody else, that wants to play in multiple environments, I don't see how they're going to compete. I do feel like a company that had recently, in my opinion, been really, really down, which is Sonos, who I own many Sonos products. I actually love Sonos. I really, really love Sonos. For a while there, I was kind of wondering if that company was going to die on the vine a little bit. They really weren't producing any new products. They weren't announcing anything new at all. No software updates. And then suddenly they come out with Amazon integrated speaker. So they have an Alexa integrated speaker. You can hook your Amazon Alexa up, even if you have just like the little puck device, the Echo Dot. It can control your Sonos devices. So they've announced that they're going to integrate with AirPlay 2. They've announced that they're going to integrate with the Google platform, whatever the hell that's called. So they're doing a lot of cool things, and I think that's the right move. Is just make your platform kind of all inclusive, and whatever you want to use on it. Because really, what their deal is, they're a good speaker company, right? They're not going to create these personal assistants. So I think it's pretty brilliant of them to integrate with all of them.
It's a beautiful sounding speaker. I've listened to the small one, whatever that is. What is it? The
Play One.
Yeah. But and then I've listened to a few different ones because you have some stuff at your place that's a little different, but my experience has been very, very good, and I've thought more and more lately about going down that road, especially with the Alexa integration out now. It's a compelling product to look at, and it sounds beautiful in a small little footprint.
Yep, and the missing component was Spotify. So what you can control currently. Well, they're doing a couple things. Number one, you can control Sonos directly from apps now. You used to have to use the Sonos controller app, so it was very particular to Sonos. So they controlled everything. But now you can actually, from your Spotify, you can pick speakers almost like as if you were picking a way to cast it to some other device. So you just say it'll see all the different speakers that you have in your room by name. So I could say, oh, send this to my living room speaker, or send it to my kitchen speaker, or something to that effect. So they've implemented that with Spotify. Uh, Pandora just announced the same thing. I think they just released that, and they're integrating with many other services. So, and then on the other side of it, with the Alexa devices, you can currently control Amazon. I think it's the Amazon Music service, and I think one other, but Spotify is coming soon. I think within probably before the end of the year. So they're doing really cool things. I think they're doing all the right moves. So I hope that pays dividends for them. But again, I don't, I don't feel the Apple product is going to make any kind of splash in the market. I feel like maybe Apple nerds are going to get it, but I don't. Yeah, I just don't see their play here.
To be continued next year. I
Next year.
I did have a note on Apple since we're on the topic for the those of you out there that are into streaming now, ditching cable and doing streaming services. They're having a pretty cool promotion with DirecTV Now going on this holiday season. I don't know when it expires, but go to DirecTV Now. They were giving out Roku sticks for free. They have a new package. It's if you buy 4 months of their basic DirecTV Now service for $35 a month, then you get a free Apple TV 4K.
Wow, that's not a bad price. And the DirecTV Now, what does that include? Is that a kind of a base, like almost like as satellite, or is it a completely different package?
Yeah, it's all streaming channels. They have different packages, but yeah, you can get 60 plus live channels for $35 a month. There's no annual contract. There's it's an app on Apple TV. It's just app. It's just an app for, you don't need the box. It's a little different than their satellite service. It's all streaming channels.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm glad that the cable companies are finally moving that direction. It's about time.
Yeah, they don't have much of a choice now. They have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to be out of business. Everybody's moving over that way. So the catch is that I think you buy an annual. It's not really a catch. It's a great deal because the Apple TV 4K is going to be run you what, $150 or something, $180. Um, and so I think you have to pay for their basic package for a year, and there was some kind of deal where that was going to cost you about $89.95 plus tax or something like that. I don't know. For the less than the price, less than the cost of an Apple TV 4K, you can get yourself uh, a streaming, DirecTV Now streaming service.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. We'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in that, you can go ahead and grab a link to get to that.
Yep.
I've been looking at getting the Apple TV. I'm somewhat I can't determine whether I want to go with that or just go with the Amazon Fire TV devices. I really love the one we have, the first Amazon Fire TV stick. That's what we use in our bedroom. And aside from it being a little sluggish, just because it's dated hardware at this point, uh, it's been a really great device, and I actually really love their interface and what they're doing with the product. Whereas Apple, again, they're that walled garden, and I don't know, it just that starts to bother me more and more and more,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I know they do some apps. They're supposed to be getting Amazon Prime, supposedly.
Oh,
Who knows when
hurry
that's
up!
going to
Let it
occur?
out. There was rumored to come out in October, and that did not happen.
Well, it was announced. It was an agreement between Apple and Amazon that Amazon would start selling the Apple TV, and that Apple would start putting the app on their devices. But
Right.
neither has happened, and I'm kind of
Yeah,
disappointed with
no,
that.
I'm talking about a leak that came out after that. There was some leak that this developer or somebody had said, "Oh yeah, like they finally have it done. It's been done for a while, and this is the release date." And it came and went last month.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. That would make things my streaming on the Apple TV very complete if I had the Amazon Prime Video app.
Yeah, and I think I would be much more willing to jump onto the Apple TV if it had the Amazon Prime app, but that's a huge missing component, and it kind of keeps me away from it. Whereas the Amazon TV has everything. I mean, there's nothing missing.
Yep.
So The only thing that is missing, I guess that's not true. So if you buy into the Apple ecosystem like I do, and you have HomeKit, the Apple TV acts as a HomeKit hub. So uh, from my phone currently, as long as I'm at home on my Wi-Fi network, I can use all my HomeKit enabled devices. However, once I leave the house, I can no longer interact with them. And so the Apple TV also acts as a internet connected HomeKit hub. So that way I can actually interact with them even remotely. So that's another advantage that the Apple TV provides that the Amazon TV cannot compete with. But I don't know how much of a huge thing that is for me or not. I still am on the fence.
Totally. All right, that's our episode today of Coffee and Codecast. You can contact us on Twitter. Show's Twitter is at Coffee Codecast. Mike's Twitter is at PragmaMike, Pragmamike, PragmaMike. Kyle at Kyle P. Johnson. Ask us a question at #Ask3C. Our email is coffeecodecast@gmail.com. And our temporary website is http://coffeecodecast.libsyn.com. You can subscribe on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iTunes, and TuneIn. Rate us, like us, share us, and leave us a comment. Thanks for listening.